Well, as you just heard, the 2021 Intergenerational report was released last week, and Treasury has warned that due to pandemic-induced immigration interruptions, Australia's population is growing slower than previously forecast. Hooray, some of you might be saying. Well, according to Treasury, instead of increasing by a massive 50% by 2054, it's going to now take an extra 6 years. That means by 2060, immigration is expected to account for about 74% of our total population growth. Well, what does this mean for Australia? Well, it goes without saying that our national identity will take a hit. And my next guest is a courageous and resilient voice for our national identity, for our values and our culture. Pleased to say, Pauline Hanson joins me now. Senator Pauline Hanson, thanks for your time. You've been a long, outspoken critic of large immigration policies. Why is the government rushing back to the big Australia agenda?
Well, Cory, I have for the past 26 years. When I first hit Parliament in 1996, I spoke about immigration, my maiden speech. Look, the government and Treasury have used immigration to up our GDP, our productivity, as you said. Now, in the last couple of years, productivity has created about 1.3% of our GDP, and they've relied on immigration for about 1.7% of our GDP. People like Jerry Harvey in big business, they love to see it because they're selling more goods. They don't care about big population. It doesn't affect their lives. They've got the beautiful big homes and properties. Nothing changes for them. But the ordinary Australian out there is confronted with ever-growing traffic jams, housing prices are going up, affordability, cost of living. Their quality of life is deteriorating because more and more people are jamming into our cities, and not very many people want to go and live out in the rural and regional areas. So the government's relying on this. They say, oh, they need it to pay for the baby boomers, the people who are reaching aged pensions. Now, that's not the case because in Japan, they have twice the age population that Australia has, and yet the number of people working is the same as what we have in Australia, yet they can have a quality of life. They have a booming country. It is far better than what Australia is. Cory, I think the problem is that we are lacking leadership in Australia.
Yeah, can I just pick up on that? Because at the end of it, it is about making Australia a better place and ensuring, though, that Australians enjoy a quality of living, whether we've got 30 million here or 45 million here. Why would we be rushing to something of a 50 or 60 million population target that is going to put us all backwards and make us live a lifestyle that none of us are really enjoying?
That's exactly right, Cory. And the fact is that politicians, I think they're lazy. I don't think they have a clue what they're doing. They have no future vision. The leadership is pathetic because they're relying on immigration to prop up our GDP. Well, then they've lost it, because what we need is to increase industries and manufacturing productivity. We have the resources. If you look at Norway, they actually have 4 million people there, yet there is such a rich country with $1.7 trillion in the bank for the people. So you don't need a big population, you need good governments that know how to run the country. We need to build the iron boomerang in North Queensland. We need to produce our steel works again. Stop sending our resources overseas for other countries to make a fortune out of it. We can have the industries, manufacturing, steel works. We can actually have the Bradfield scheme to open up the water to increase our agricultural areas and to encourage people to go out to rural and regional areas. But there's no vision there, Cory, not anymore. I don't believe they know what to do. And people have seen ever increasing in their taxes because money is going more to welfare, people that are on welfare payments, age pensions and all the rest of it. And we're not putting the money into proper infrastructure, especially in rural and regional areas.
Well, but this is the thing, Pauline, there's got to be a cultural shift, doesn't there? Firstly, that people should be able to continue to work well past 65 if that's what they want to do, and I think that's an employment issue as well. We need to make sure employers are prepared to give older people continuing service. But how are we ever going to have a manufacturing base back in this country when electricity is so expensive and unreliable? We've got these stupid green schemes that are setting us back. We're not allowed to build dams. We're not allowed to build new housing developments because of black, red and green tape. the insane level of government in this country is what is holding us back and doing us damage, isn't it?
That's exactly what I've been saying, Cory. We don't have the vision in our leadership to actually know what to do. They're band-aiding all the time. You know, we've been on the floor of Parliament together. All they do is constantly band-aiding legislation that's been put up how many years ago because they got it wrong. Treasury has no idea. Get the bureaucrats out of it. Get politicians who have an interest in this country and not just their warming seats that have no idea what the hell they're doing. And that's what we need, is good leadership in Australia. Politicians have to stop looking at the short term. Oh, well, I'm only here, so I'll make sure I get elected next time. You've got to start making decisions for the next 20, 30, 40 years. That's what China's done. That's why they're booming. That's why they've made the right decisions now to see the country move forward, while we keep going backwards. And our population is going to change. If you think it's going to stay the Australia that you know of today, in the next 20, 30, 40 years, it will be so different, because we're relying on migrants to come here. And we're not encouraging them to come on board. We're not encouraging them to learn that English language before they get their citizenship. And so things are going to change. As I said, being a multicultural society means all these little pockets of people living their own cultural way of life. We are multiracial, but at the end of the day, we must be Australian and united as a country.
Yeah, Pauline, you've raised so many things that are important, and I summarise them as saying we've got to look after our social, our economic and our cultural balance sheet. We can redress bad economic management. You can kind of cure social ills through intergenerational management and approach there. Very, very difficult to redress a cultural balance sheet that is toppled over the edge into a nihilist culture or something like that. So it is a three-pronged attack, and we've got to prepare ourselves through our immigration program, our education program, our infrastructure, our governance and our family support for an Australia that's going to be better going forward, don't we?
Yeah, we certainly do, Cory, and that's been my job, and I've kept being the voice for reason with regards to it. Since they put a stop to immigration with the COVID, people will tell you how much better it has been, and Australians have the opportunity to get jobs. But I want more Australians to get up off the dole, off that welfare payment, and go and start looking for a job and earn your living in this country. No one owes you a life on a welfare payment. That was supposed to be a helping hand. And if you don't do it, well, I'm sorry, they will open up the borders for those skilled migrants and taking jobs that belongs to Australians. So you've got no one else to blame but yourselves.
Pauline Hanson, you're the voice of common sense, and you're lighting up the text line tonight, I can tell you. So thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate your insights. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me on.